This is Danny with QuadLugs, and we're working on the 250 mini racing rail, the X Quad. So we built the frame the other day. Now we're going to go ahead and start on the electronics. We're going to use the smaller of the, or the not as long, the shortest of the spacers on this right now. Hopefully I can keep this from going all over the place. But we're gonna, there's 4 different sizes or lengths, and we're gonna use the shorter. And of course, you know, we tightened everything up really well. And you know, we went through the build, the frame build. So I think that's it there. We have all 4 of them on. We're going to be using the, excuse me, we're going to be using the 4-in-1, the Afro 4-in-1. Of course, we get it from good old Hobby King. There's quite a few other ones you can use on this, and you know, we'll link them at the bottom. But I've had real good luck with this one. You know, and there's a couple of others coming out now. We've been using 4-in-1s for a long time. And at one time, you know, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, okay, you're using those. But they're really getting popular now. And the ESCs, you know, the newest one is, I think it's Favorite. And they have, they're using Little B, you know, one-shot. So, ESCs. So it's really starting to move up. The only thing on this one here is that you have no means of getting your 12-volt power for your FPV transmitter and camera. You know, the 5 volts are to the controller is going to come from here, from this wiring loom here rather. And you know, so you have to go into this, and what we normally do, we solder, you know, a piece here to give us power. I'm talking to a few people right now to see if they can't set this up like they do the power distribution boards, which by the way, you can use that on this too. You can, you know, put your ESCs elsewhere and you know, use the power distribution board here. Works great. You can also, now we run also ZTW motors, and they have the ESCs made into the motor, and it goes to about power distribution point. Works really, really good. But on this one right here, like I said, we're talking to a few people and seeing if we can't, you know, get some things added to it to where they'll be able to be at least a point to pull off 12 volts, you know, to make it a little bit easier and neater on the builds. But anyway, we have the spacer at the bottom, and we're going to slide this down. Now whenever you put these on, sometimes these studs, you know, will move a little bit, and it gets a little bit, you know, tight pushing them down. But you'll find if when you start pushing it down, you push on the corners, it works really, really good. And when it gets in a bind, actually these here, you're gonna, if you push them apart like this, that seems to be where the biggest part comes in if they ever bind up. Believe it or not, some people may want to go to push, but separating them like that actually does a good job. And that's what I'm doing right here. I'm kind of pushing, and it'll ease up and slide down. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this down. Okay, and we push it down. Just take your time doing it. You'll have to sometimes, you know, if they line up just right, if you didn't bend these, they'll go right down on it. Sometimes though, you have to kind of work it down. So, you know, just ease up on the corners and give you, you know, spread it apart, pull it. Normally it's just spreading it apart, and you can just ease it down, and it'll work out real well. So just take your time doing this. Now when we put these on, I forgot to mention it before we started sliding it down, this is the 2 sides where we cut the top of this off right here. So you know, your battery strap's going to go here, and we'd cut this off because these wires here are actually going to settle down right in there like that. So works out real good. So as you're pushing the 4 and 1 down, just ease these wires in there at the same time. And this area right here will leave this free to mount your FPV transmitter. So there we go there. And I think this spacer here is the smaller, the shorter one that you have, but I think it's like 2 millimeter. So we have 2 millimeter, 4 millimeter, 8, and 10, and that's the 2. Okay, I'm gonna put the plugs on here later. Okay, we have some motor. Actually, I used this off of another one, repurposing these motors. And these are some ones we've been trying out with Brother Hobby. And they're, fairly inexpensive motors, and I like to try different things. But so far it's been doing pretty good. It's 2204, 2300. And we're gonna go ahead and put some zip ties on these and get these installed. Now the way I mount these or install them is that, and you can see they're still configured from the last one I had on. I put them toward the inside, so it's gonna be like this, and then I do that number with it. And these wires here that come, and they already have the bullet connector on there. They're the right length. You don't have to do anything with it. So this is a super easy install because of that. That's one reason why I use these. If I'm just going to do some practicing with it, this is a great ESC to work with, and the motors work real good with this. And be surprised, you can actually do a little bit of racing with it too, and you can have some luck with that too, believe it or not. Anyway, what I've done with the motors, and again I'm repurposing them, but you'll have to solder this on. So by using this, the only soldering I'm going to have is putting these bullets on, and then the battery connector. Makes a nice job, easy. So I'm going to go ahead and get these put on, and you should put all 4 of them on, the zip ties that is. Most of the time when I'm flying it myself, I just put 2, but again, you should put 4. I would recommend it, but I do this quite a bit, and I don't have any problems with it. The only place, of course I'll have a problem with it is when I crash, and I want that to happen. Okay. Just a reminder, whenever you order motors, you want to make sure that you get the X mounts. If they don't supply them with the motors, a lot of them don't. So our method of installing them, we use a X mount on it. And one of the reasons we do that, actually there's a couple of reasons. One with the zip ties, that if you have a real major hit, along with the way the motor mount's made, I'm not going to say that you can't, obviously, but I've never broken a motor mount. This thing right here. And you get good protection of your motor all the way around. You also, if it gets really crazy into a hit, these are going to release the zip ties, and it'll help maybe save some of the components on your motor. The main reason I use it, be honest with you, is that I can switch out a motor really fast. I know a lot of guys don't like it. I still use bullet connectors. You don't have to, obviously, and I'm not saying this may be the smartest thing to do, but with the bullet connectors, just connect a bullet connector, pop these ties off, and have another motor within literally minutes, and just a few minutes. The other thing I can do with this also is that if I want to switch motors out, I can try different motors super easy, and I can even do it while I'm out flying during the day. So I may want to use one particular motor, you know, for one method of flying, different motor for another method of flying. So you can change depending on what your course is or what you're doing during the day. You can change the motors out super easy, super fast, and you can stay on top of it. So anyway, that's part of the reason why I do it. Anyway, that's on. We're going to check rotation obviously later on. We're just going to go ahead and get these plugged in. And then I haven't cut any of these wires. All I did was solder on the connector on it, on the motor. The other side already has it. And you'll see whenever I put my wire tie on, this tucks in really well. Makes a really, really neat job. And there you go. Okay, and that's how it's going to wind up looking. So let me get these plugged in. Okay, so we got this done. Makes a pretty neat job. Not too bad. Still need to trim it up a hair bit, but I went ahead and put this on now just to, you know, make it look nice, and then we'll do the rotation check here in just a little bit. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and put our 10 millimeter, and I do this, the 10 millimeter spacer, I'm sorry. And I do this because the controller's going on next, and I like to have just a little bit of distance between the ESC and or the power distribution and the controller, just to let it breathe. Now I'm going to be using a CC3D, and this is the SpeedX CC3D, and I really like these because you can just plug in here the Spectrum receiver. Really, really easy to do, and then you can also run S-Bus right here too. It also just plugs in. Super neat feature there. A lot of wiring. This is it. You plug it in here or you plug it in there. Your motors are going to plug in here. That's it. You don't have to do a lot of fancy wiring with it. You know, not a lot of fancy soldering. None of that. This is it. And this, I'm going to go ahead and install it this way, and this is our USB, mini USB connector. And it shows that, you know, the front is this way. When we go into the program, when we go into LibrePilot, we're going to go ahead and, you know, move it 180 degrees. And I do it this way, just, I like connecting these motors here. It just makes for a good setup. The wiring is going to plug in here. So all this wiring can be trimmed down and make it look really neat by doing it this way. So obviously you can, you know, do it however you want. So again, we're going to get this put on, line these up, and again, just take your time. If you get in a hurry, you'll get into a problem with it. Just take your time with it. And like I said, after you put this on one time and you have this built, taking off this, you know, after that, it's really easy. It gets it all in line. So you can see I just pressed on the corners like this and pushed it on down. And there we go. And that's the distance you're going to have here. And it gives you a good bit of breathing room here, and I like it. You know, I like to do it that way. And again, this is the front that I've set up as the front, and the board shows the front this way. We're gonna, you know, rotate it 180 when we do the when we set it up. Okay. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna get our 1/8 inch bit. Actually, a 9/64 is better. You'll find that that little bit of extra room does a little bit better. So we're gonna, we call this, you know, a pad for receiver, but we're going to go ahead and prep this and get it ready. And we're going to drill these out a little bit. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do both of these. Okay, we have this drilled out and we're going to set this. Okay, we're going to be using the 4mm, and you'll have a few extra because you know you can set it up in different ways. We're going to go ahead and face this down. Now if you want to put it this way, you can use an 8mm, you know, and you'll have that here. And this works real good if you take your needle nose and just grab it like this and just move it a little bit and it moves right on down. And again, once you have this all set up, it comes off a lot easier the second time. Okay, and the way I did this, if I'm going to leave these on, and meaning keep or plugging in the motor, then I need this distance right here. If you were going to hard solder this in, this comes off. You turn this piece, instead of like this, you can turn it like this, and it gets much tighter down. So you can play around with that and do whatever you like. So we're going to go ahead and put our receiver on. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put our satellite receiver on. And of course you can put any receiver you want in here, and it should fit, no problem. Now this is, and I'm going to put some links to where I'm getting some of this stuff. This is a satellite receiver, and it's by Kinnison. And it works really well, and it kind of saves on the pocketbook too. Okay. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and plug it in right here. We're going to bind this, and it's pretty neat how that works with these SpeedX CC3Ds. We're going to do this on the program whenever we're setting it up. So you'll see how that works. So we're going to do it like this, and we're going to do this number. Just sometimes getting this backing off is like, make it crazy. So, there we go. Go ahead and put it right there. Now we're, and I think on the build video I was showing we're 3D printing some prototyping of camera mounts on top that you can mount up here. The FPV is going to go here, the camera here, the FPV transmitter is going to be here. But we're kind of messing around with coming up and finalizing the design to put the camera here, for your HD stuff. So in the meantime though, let me just see how we're going to do this. I think, yeah, we'll need another 4mm. Then we're going to put it this way, and this right here is going to be for protection. And I've had some pretty, like I was saying the other day, I've had some pretty good spills with this, and I'll tell you what, it's held up really, really good. Okay, and again, to settle it down for the first time, you can just grab it with your needle nose and just move it around a little bit, and it's amazing. It just falls right in line or right into place. And you'll see by turning it over like this and putting a 4mm spacer, it's perfect on top of your satellite receiver. Now if you have a bigger receiver, obviously you can use the taller ones that we'll have in here. And we'll go ahead and put our nylon nuts on top to secure it all down. And this is how we stack them. And I'll tell you what, I've been playing with it quite a bit. Works really, really good. Okay, got these tightened up. That's going to be our protection. Now, I normally just leave the studs here, you know, the same height, especially if I'm going to put something on top of it, you know, like if we're going to eventually put a camera, a piece on there after we finalize that. But if you're not, you know, you can just trim those down. I use a pair of bigger wire cutters, you know, and just pop them off. You can make it look nice or just leave it like that. Now we're going to go ahead and get this hooked up, get our ESC hooked up. Now the way I have this one hooked up, and let me change a few of these up. Okay. I'll take these off and I'm going to put it on one. So I'm going to be using blue, green, and yellow. And of course we'll check all of this and make sure of all this when we go through the, you know, setting up the program, and that's going to be on another video here after this one. But when we're in LibrePilot, we'll double check all that so everything we know will be right. But the way I'm doing this is blue is number 2 motor, green is 3, yellow is 4, and then we're going to power up here, and white is going to be number 1 motor. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Signals on top. So we're going to do this bit right here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and plug this in now. Let me get something here. There it is. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, cut these and just repin it closer in like that. So I'm going to do that in a bit, probably before we're back to do the controller setup. But for right now, I'm just going to tuck this underneath here. There we go. And now your wiring may be a little bit different, you know, the order that it's in, simply because it depends on how you put your 4-in-1 in. I put it like this. If you had it turned over, you know, you can go to your brochure that comes with it, the little bit of brochure here, and it'll give you which motors go where. And you know, we're doing 1, 2, 3, and 4 on this. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you know, it'll depend on which way you turn it as to how the wires come out. But easy enough. Easy enough. So what I normally do on this too is that I normally turn the receiver around, the satellite receiver, and run this wire underneath here and back around, and it, you know, tucks all this in and it makes it look real nice. But we can do the same thing here, and I'll probably turn that around too. So you can kind of mess around with that and, you know, make it your own. A little bit of something to think about there. Now we're going to have different straps. This particular one here, we're trying a few different ones before we, you know, go into production with it. Okay. Okay. Before we tuck that in, we're going to go ahead and put our, let me see what I did with it here. There we go. You can do it how you want. I normally put the loop on here and the hook on my battery, but however you do it. And this is going to wind up going just like that. So I'm going to measure this out. And I'm going to get this cut. And this is where you're going to make sure that, you know, this is smooth here. You know, so when you put your battery on, it doesn't cause any damage. And this is how we're going to do that. Tuck these back in there. And again, you may have, you know, a little bit different way of doing that. Let me know. I'd like to see it. And there it is. I'm going to go ahead and solder the HT60 on, and we'll be ready now to put it on LibrePilot and set it up, and then we're ready to go flying. Again, we'll have another video after this on, you know, setting up the LibrePilot. And we're going to, after that, have another video on setting up the FPV camera and transmitter. So, there you go. Let me grab this. You'll see this works very well here. Just, like I was saying, you want to get these nuts here nice and smooth so you don't get into your battery. And I normally put, you know, the opposite Velcro on the battery here, and that really helps out a lot too. And then I normally tuck this underneath, and she plugs in. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get the controller set up. And that's it, man. That's the electronics. It's Danny with QuadLugs. See you soon.